From WNDU, your breaking news and weather authority, this is 16 Morning News.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us. Michiana, of course, waking up to storm damage this morning. We're talking fallen branches, large tree limbs, and also power lines came down as well.
They sure did, and the good news is we're not expecting any more severe weather today. It's certainly going to take quite a while to clean up all of this damage.
Yeah, our viewers have been very helpful, sending us photos of what they're seeing in their backyards and beyond. Here are a few of them. You can share yours on Facebook as well on our Facebook page, or maybe email them to us if it's easier for you at newscenter16@WNDU.com. Now, more than 40,000 people are without power at this time. Christine Karsten will have a closer look at that and coming up in a live report in just a moment. And check out this video of a stoplight down at South Michigan Street and West South Street in South Bend. That's near the Transpo station.
And it's believed that heavy winds caused the pole to fall. Street crews, they responded to the scene. No word yet on when it's expected to be repaired.
Now, we have reports of several trees that have actually fallen onto homes.
That's right. And Christine Karsten joins us live from Kosciuszko County with a look at some of the most intense damage this morning. Good morning, Christine.
Good morning, Tricia and David. Let me show you right here. This is one of the homes at Fairlane Mobile Home Park where a tree fell on part of the home right here. Now, take a look at this. The tree is down on the front part of it, landed on a little bit of the car right here. I'm told that it did land on part of the home right next door, but not as much damage. But if you just look at the way that this tree completely blew off, I know we had some reports of 90-mile-per-hour winds throughout Michiana. We can't confirm that necessarily those were here, but some high-powered winds definitely took this off. Now, I did speak to a resident who lives right down, a few houses down from here. She tells me her son was in this home during the time the tree fell. She tells me he came out and started knocking on the door with some scrapes, telling her what had happened. She eventually came out to find this. She did tell me that about 4 people were in the home during this time. We have not confirmed with officials about the injuries or the conditions of those who were inside. But we're going to stay on top of that for you and give you the latest. Now, there are several down power lines. Power is still out right around here. One neighbor was telling me up front they got power back around 5 in the morning, but still down here they are without power. But debris has been everywhere. When we were driving down here on 31, cones from construction were tossed in the middle of the road. We all know about that construction on US 31. They were in the way, making that 2-lane into 1. So you need to be cautious as you go down there. We continued down south. We saw even more poles and power lines down. About 6 or so were completely lying on the ground as you were driving by. Another thing you want to be cautious about. We cannot emphasize that enough. As you're taking your morning commute, you need to be cautious of water downed wires. If it poses an emergency, call 911. If it's not an emergency, call AEP and let them know about your situation. Tricia, I have to tell you though, we were standing here, one of the residents who told us puppies lived underneath this home where there was a mom too. 3 of the puppies were taken out. 1 puppy was left inside. She told me she thought it was dead. In between our live shots here, she saw that puppy emerge from this trailer and reunited that puppy with the mom. I don't know if we can pull that picture up. I took a picture of it. It's just a silver lining in this. Nice to see them come together. As we mentioned, we're going to stay on top of the conditions of those inside this home. But as you mentioned, several people under these conditions in Michiana. So please, if it's an emergency, call 911. If it's not, AEP for down wires. But please be cautious of that water as you're driving on those roads so you don't hydroplane, hurt your car, worse, even hurt yourself. Tricia, back to you.
Good advice for sure, Christine. And we want to remind people that we do have that picture. We have it on our Twitter feed this morning. So hopefully people will take a moment, take a look at that picture. And like you said, a nice silver lining to a very devastating moment for a lot of families. We want to go over some current power outage numbers from Indiana Michigan Power. We know there are a lot of folks struggling with the power outages this morning. In Berrien County, there are 17,780 without power. In Cass County, we're seeing 3,890. St. Joseph County, 1,400 without power. LaPorte County, 450. In St. Joseph County, Indiana, 20,300. In Elkhart County, 3,000, and there are a few out in Marshall County, I should say a few hundred, 280. And that just helps tell the story of what's going on out there, David, because so many power lines came down. A lot of power poles were snapped, and that takes a lot of energy. This storm packed a big punch.
Yeah, and it's not only just the straight line winds that just pushed them over. You'd mentioned they cracked them in half, and because the ground is so saturated, it takes a toll. It really does. Traffic lights, power poles, power lights, everything around Michiana.
Large trees fully uprooted because of the saturated ground.
Yeah, that's true. And I think the best part is we don't have to worry about severe weather.
Good.
Yeah, no more.
That's out of the picture today.
Yeah,
huh?
and I think we're going to be back into the sunshine as the day goes on. You see that most of our day is going to be full of clear conditions, and 16 Doppler max. It's actually picking up on that this morning. Be prepared because we're going to see a lot more damage as the sun finally rises. So if you haven't been on the roadways this morning, when you do, take extra time, especially with the debris, the flooded roadways as well. Temperatures right now in the 60s will eventually push back up into the 80s before the day's end. And I think we're going to have a better forecast for a lot of people that want to get out, whether they want to clean up some of that damage, take the family to the fairs later on today. I think one of the other good things is it's less humid. We're going to talk more about that in your Storm Team 16 forecast coming up in just a little bit. Tricia.
All right, thanks a lot, David. Yeah, we're not the only ones dealing with the aftermath of these wicked storms. One person was killed yesterday when strong winds flattened a building in Fairfax, Iowa, that's southwest of Cedar Rapids. Emergency officials say a second person was in that building but was able to escape. Up to 8 inches of rain fell in and around Cedar Rapids as the storm swept through last night. Iowa Governor Terry Branstad issued a proclamation of disaster emergency for 5 counties. Meanwhile, several people were injured at a minor league baseball game when the severe weather rolled in. A thunderstorm packing 80-mile-an-hour winds blew a heavy field tarp around after the Cedar Rapids Colonels baseball game. Members of the staff and ground crew were trying to pull that tarp over the field. At least 4 were injured. 3 had to go to the hospital with possible concussions. None of the players was on the field at the time. Most of the fans had already left. Cedar Rapids firefighters are searching for a 17-year-old who was swept away in a sewer drain. Officials say several teens were playing frisbee at a local school when one was swept away into the storm drain. A second teen went in after him. He was found. The other teen, though, is still missing. Officials are optimistic that the teen will be found alive. We'll continue to bring you storm coverage throughout the morning, including more pictures from you that you've sent in all throughout Michiana. And don't miss our continuing coverage from across the Midwest. It's all coming up on the Today Show starting at 7 a.m. A Berrien County teenager continues to recover after her vehicle collided with a cement truck exactly 2 weeks ago. It took rescue crews 90 minutes to cut Kara Safranek and another passenger out of that van on June 17th after the accident on Hagershore Road near North Shore Road. Safranek was riding with her older sister, and they just picked up their 6-month-old nephew to babysit, who was also in the car. He had to be cut out from the back seat. According to our reporting partners at the Herald Palladium, the 13-year-old from Waterville met with some volunteer firefighters from the North Berrien Fire Rescue Department who helped save her life. Her goal is to be home by the 4th of July, which is this Friday. Both of her femurs were broken in the crash and now have titanium rods in them, so she is working on some rehab with walking. Today, we expect to learn more about how a 12-year-old died inside his Syracuse home. An autopsy was completed yesterday on Skylar Spoor, who was found not breathing in his home Saturday afternoon. Authorities are waiting on preliminary results to come back this afternoon. The information could reveal whether or not 2 gas-powered generators played a role in the boy's death. The family was using those generators as they waited for NIPSCO to turn their utilities back on. Skylar's parents and younger brother were also in the home at the time, but they were not hurt. Members of the community have been raising money to help Skylar's family pay for funeral costs through a GoFundMe webpage. Student loan rates go up starting today for money from the federal government. Those rates will increase by 0.8%. The change stems from a bipartisan deal brokered last year by Congress and signed by President Obama that ties the rates to the financial markets. Until last year, student loan interest rates were set by law and did not adjust with economic conditions. For every $10,000 in student loans taken out, the average borrower can expect to pay $4 extra a month. With Congress out of town, President Obama delivers a Get Tough speech on immigration, with pressure mounting at the border. Today, one town that's slated to get an influx of new immigrants is fighting back. Tracy Potts has the latest from Washington.
A California town is protesting waves of immigrant women and children being shipped to their Border Patrol station starting today.
They should be sent back to their own country.
The Texas detention center that's been holding unaccompanied children is overwhelmed. Homeland Security Secretary Jay Johnson, visiting the border Monday, warned parents in Central America their kids may not make it to the U.S. alive.
It is dangerous. The beast is dangerous. Parents need to understand that.
A humanitarian crisis at the border. President Obama blames Congress.
The failure of House Republicans to pass a darn bill is bad for our security, it's bad for our economy, and it's bad for our future.
The president wants the Attorney General and Homeland Security Secretary to outline actions he can take alone without Congress. He wants that plan by the end of the summer. Plus, he's asking Congress for $2 billion in emergency funding that critics say is mostly for show.
It's theater. It's not really like it's going to deal with the emergency.
House Speaker John Boehner says the president acting without Congress will only make this problem worse. The president also says he wants to speed up deporting the most recent and most dangerous immigrants. Tracy Potts, NBC News, Washington.
Watch for continuing coverage on this story coming up on the Today Show following 16 Morning News. On to our question of the day today.
That's right. Today's question, when most people buy this, they throw away about 20% of it. What is it?
I tell you, I don't throw much away. When I buy something, I try to use the last drop or the last little crumb of something.
Okay.
What are people saying on Facebook this morning?
I'm seeing lettuce pop up on there. Maybe you have the stem of the lettuce. Do you throw that away or do you let it mold in your fridge?
No, and I don't eat that last crumb.
Okay, I was going to say, I hope not.
I'm not fighting for the last of that. Let us know on Facebook. You can go leave a comment under question of the day, or you can email us this morning at amquestion@WNDU.com.
Yeah.
Hey, coming up, the World Cup craze. The U.S. takes on Belgium today, and fans are going to be gathering at watch parties around here and across the country.
Yeah, and after the break, I'm going to have another look at your forecast, show you some more pictures, and we'll talk more about what the day ahead has in store.
You're watching WNDU, your breaking news and weather authority, 16 Morning News. Tracking inconvenient weather where you live. Storm Team 16 is your weather authority.
And it's not only the severe thunderstorms that gave us debris and hail that we were worried about, it's also the threat of some flooding. We have a picture that Patrick sent us of his work at his shipping dock. Take a look at all the water that's pooled there. This is one of the many that we've been seeing, especially those low-lying roadways, intersections that are completely flooded over. Take extra time. If you don't know how deep it is, best advice, turn around, don't drown, don't put yourself in a situation where it could threaten your life or the lives of others. So we thank Patrick for sending this picture in, posting it to our WNDU Facebook page. You can do the same this morning as well. Take a look at our Skyview 16 image atop the St. Joseph Regional Medical Center in Mishawaka. Note the temperature. It's cooler than yesterday, 67 degrees. One thing you will also note later on today, that relative humidity value. It will start to sink later on this afternoon and evening. The wind, though, it will be picking up and gusting as high as 25 miles per hour, all behind that cold front which pushed through earlier. And there's a look at some of the showers and the thunderstorms that roared through Michiana only within the past 6 hours here all across our area. Not only did we see the flooding rains, we saw hail. In fact, I've seen some pictures on our Facebook page of hail the size of a quarter, if not larger, golf ball size hail in some areas. That certainly is a severe thunderstorm. We saw the warnings, watches, and advisories earlier. Nothing right now. In fact, that system has already weakened as it makes its track off to the east, losing steam because you need for thunderstorm development not only that uplift in the atmosphere, which in this case was the cold front, you also need the moisture in the content in the atmosphere, which we had, but the temperatures, those have cooled off in the morning hours, so that's why those thunderstorms have lost steam, making their way eastward. So 16 future track in motion throughout the daytime today. One cold front through, we'll be seeing some sun. A secondary cold front could give us a slight chance of rain showers Wednesday morning. It rushes through, we'll see even less humidity, so it'll actually feel more comfortable by the second half of the week. High pressure building in from the west, that's going to give us more sun, not only going on Wednesday into Thursday, but for the holiday weekend as well. If you're traveling or staying home, you shouldn't have any problems whatsoever. 83 degrees later on today for your Storm Team 16 forecast. Watch that wind at 10 to 20 miles per hour. 7-day planning forecast, we're going green, yellow, green the next 3 days. 4th of July looks absolutely amazing. It's hard to remember the last time that we saw quite comfortable conditions for a holiday for the 4th of July. 75 with mostly sunny conditions. All those fireworks shows should go out without a hitch. In fact, you may see more this year because we've seen so much rain. It's not as dry and you don't have to run the risk of all those brush fires from fireworks that kind of go haywire.
Well, we know it's a mess out there this morning, but the silver lining in all of this is that hopefully things are going to be clear and good in Bremen. I know a lot of people are without power in Bremen right now, but hopefully they're going to get things restored because today kicks off the Firemen's Festival there in Bremen. They're going to have a softball tournament that kicks off at 5. They've got a parade tonight as well. Their big fireworks show is, of course, Friday night, and it's huge.
Yes, it is. A lot of people go to that, and you can see the fireworks as far as the eye can see.
Right, and it runs through the 5th, their festival, so keep that in mind if you're planning ahead. Also planning ahead, Meet Me on the Island is coming up.
Yes, it is.
Thursday of this week in South Bend.
Yeah, and you're going to notice a lot of art, music by the J.R. Clark and All-Star Blues Mob. Oh, that should be nice. And then fireworks at dusk.
Yeah, that's a Thursday night kind of fun, and that's all starting at 5:30 at Island Park at the Century Center. We've got tickets to give away. In fact, we're going to give 2 free tickets away this morning.
That's right, and to enter, just send an email to 16morningnews@WNDU.com. Include things like your name, phone number, and address, and you must be able to pick up the tickets at the event. We're going to announce a winner coming up at the end of the show.
All right, before you grab your breakfast this morning, there are some U.S. soccer fans that are hoping you'll be careful about what you choose. We'll explain that and have a preview of the do-or-die game today for the Americans after the break. Plus, as the sun rises, you're seeing the damage out there. We'll have more Storm Team 16 coverage just ahead.
Here's a look at the day planner. We're going hour by hour to show you that the sun is back in the forecast today. Once the sun finally rises and you're seeing a bit more light, you'll be able to assess the damage around your area. We're seeing it a lot all across Michiana. Take some pictures, post them on our Facebook page. But later today, we'll see more sun and 80 degrees. We'll have another look at your forecast in our 6:30 half hour. Tricia?
Yeah, give yourself extra time. We're hearing major roadways that are affected by large tree limbs this morning. So do go on Facebook, leave us your assessment of what the road conditions are in your area this morning so we can share that with all of Michiana. Bethel College is closed today. They don't have power. If we hear from others, we'll be sure to pass those along to you. Well, the countdown to kickoff is on as Team USA gets ready to take on Belgium in the knockout round of the World Cup. And once again, Americans, millions of them, are expected to tune in and join in that World Cup frenzy. Jay Gray is in Chicago, where later today, thousands are expected to pack one of the nation's largest watch parties.
I believe that we will win. I believe that we will win.
With a lot of excitement and a bit of success comes some pretty bold expectations as the American team squares off against Belgium later today in the World Cup round of 16.
Belgium's going to be a good opponent, but I definitely think we can beat them. And then after that, most likely we'll be playing Argentina. And I think that'll really be a thrilling game as well. But I definitely see a chance of us getting out of the 16, out of the 8, and even moving into the 4.
That may be a bit ambitious for a team that wasn't expected to get out of group play. But what Team USA lacks in soccer history and prestige, they make up for it with an enthusiastic and growing group of fans.
No, we wait 4 years for this. Look at this American soccer. Look around this place. American soccer's growing.
I'm now a diehard football fan, I'll tell you that much.
I believe that!
The U.S. team has captured the attention of the nation in a country that, as sports writer John Feinstein points out, loves a winner.
And this team was placed in the so-called group of death. And when they won that first game against Ghana and clearly had a chance to survive that and make the knockout rounds, I think the interest ratcheted up a whole lot.
USA! USA!
And it will reach a fevered pitch when the Americans take to the pitch this afternoon.
So if you're headed out to breakfast this morning, there is one thing you can do to support the U.S. team. Avoid the Belgian waffles today, something that even the Waffle House endorses on game day. Jay Gray, NBC News, Chicago.
Got it. No Belgium waffles for me today. The U.S. takes on Belgium at 4 o'clock. The St. Joe Kickers Sports Club is hosting a big watch party that's open to the public. According to our reporting partners at WSJM, doors will open at 3:30. The Kickers Club is located on M139 between St. Joseph and Berrien Springs. Straight ahead, a look at some of the top news stories that you're waking up to this morning. This traffic note, State Road 19 between State Road 119 and County Road 46 is closed That's between Wakarusa and Napanee, all because of large tree limbs that are down. David's got to check that forecast. It's going to be great for cleanup today. We'll be right back.
16 Doppler max showing that we are in the clear, even though we're seeing the clouds out there. No rain showers are falling. We're being able to assess some of the damage that we've seen from last night's storms, and most of those are in Ohio. We are free from any severe weather over the next couple of days. In fact, the next week as well. No thunderstorms are expected. Here's a look at the day ahead. We're back up to the 80s later on this afternoon with less humidity, I might add. That's going to make it feel a little bit better out there. I think folks are really going to have to head outside, take a look and see what happened in their yards, because straight line winds of 80 to 90 miles per hour, they make quite a difference.
Oh yeah, and what we've noticed is the damage is not just with the trees and the tree limbs that came crashing down in the storm, but also the barrels, the construction barrels.
Yeah.
On US 31, there's that stretch of road where they're working on the new highway and they've narrowed it down to just 2 lanes. Well, guess what? The barrels overnight were shifted into that lane. It made it a 1-lane trip. There's no getting over to the other side. You'll fall into the construction zone or off the road on the other side. So talk about a narrow path on my drive in this morning. That's what I encountered, and you saw semis coming through there too. Hopefully that area has been cleaned up a bit, but that just goes to show you we've got that happening throughout Michiana, not just with the construction barrels, but also with lawn furniture and also your trash containers. That's probably in your neighbor's yard, or maybe even a county over with the way the winds were blowing last night.
Exactly. And that's one of the reasons I waited till this morning before I came in to put my barrel out. and certainly saw a lot in my neighborhood of all those barrels halfway down the street. And it's not only that, but a lot of those traffic signals are out. So consider those 4-way stops, if at all.
Good reminder for sure. And chances are you're going to hear those chainsaws over the next few days as Michiana residents clean up the debris from this very destructive storm.
Yeah, and as we've been talking all morning long, the damage, it's widespread down trees, or down on roadways, on houses, on cars, and tens of thousands of people, they're without power this morning.
An example of just some of the worst damage that we found is in Kosciuszko County. And that is where we find Christine Karsten, and she joins us now live. Good morning, Christine.
Good morning, Tricia. Yeah, take a look at this. You talk about the hardest hit areas right here. This tree fell on the front part of this mobile home. Just take a look at it. It's almost mind-blowing to understand how such a big tree, those winds could have blown it over. But as we mentioned, some reports of 90-mile-per-hour winds in Michiana. Again, not saying that happened here, but just think about those high winds that forced this tree to go down. Now, we did talk to a resident who lives a few houses down. She tells me 4 people were in the house at the time, 2 adults, 2 kids. One of those kids was her own. She found out because he got out of the house, knocked on the front door, and told her about what was going on. Luckily, he got out of the house with just scrapes. As for the other 3, we have not confirmed those conditions with officials just yet. Now, I've been on the phone with them all morning long. They tell me we should be getting news fairly soon about what happened, so we'll bring you the latest as we get that. But as you mentioned, this damage is widespread around Michiana. Tons of power has been out. This area is still without power right now. We were told around 5 by one of the residents that some of the power was restored in the front of this mobile home park. We're at Fairlane Mobile Home Park at 1202 Wooster Road. Now, down power lines have been around Michiana. We've been reporting that. So you're going to want to take proper precautions when you come to them. If you see down power lines, if they're in your way and ways of others, you want to call 911 and let them know what's going on. If they're down but they're not affecting anybody, call AEP and let them know about those conditions. Another thing, driving into work this morning, puddles and puddles of water. Puddles, I'm talking about water going from the curb all the way to the center lane. You want to be careful as you're driving because you don't want to race through that. Not only can that injure your car or hurt your car, it could hurt you if you hydroplane, run into something out. So take proper precautions. As we were driving down south, I want to tell you about some of the things we saw as well. We saw poles and power lines down about 6 in a row just north of La Paz. You want to be wary of that. We also saw some of the barricades that construction workers put out. They blew into some of those center lanes. We all know about US 31 and all that construction. They blew into that 2-lane area, making it a 1-lane. So you're going to want to watch out for that too. Now, we do have some updated power outages for you. Berrien County right now, more than 19,000 15,000 people without power. That number is up from the 17,000, and in St. Joe County, more than 20,000 people without power. Those are the two hardest hit areas as of right now. So you're going to want to be wary of that. Take extra time. We cannot emphasize that enough. I know we're going to pull up a picture for you that I took earlier this morning, maybe 30 minutes or so. We mentioned we don't know about the condition of those people who were inside this mobile home at the time, but we did talk to a resident who said that there were puppies inside the home. They know 3 of them got out. 1 of them they believe to be dead. We'll take a look at that picture because as we were standing here, they found that last puppy safe. They reunited it with its mother. You know, we talk about those silver linings here. Again, we can't confirm the conditions, but it was nice to see something came out of this as people went through these harsh storms throughout the night. We're about to talk to one resident who tells me it sounded like a big boom, something that she hasn't heard before. Her trailer is in between this one and the other one, so we're about to talk to her and see what her morning was like. She said her kids were inside too. Tricia, back to you.
And that was Christine Carson reporting live from Kosciuszko County. Now, we do know of these power outages that are throughout Michiana. What we're hearing from Kosciuszko County REMC is 5,500 are without power there in Kosciuszko County. Now, cleanup is on the minds of many today as the storm comes, or the sun comes out and the storm has moved on. A lot of folks are dealing with fallen trees, and Kate Chappell joins us now with another look at storm damage here in the South Bend area.
Well, we've been talking about it all morning, but those trees are the reason hundreds, even thousands, are without power this morning. It's a big deal, and not to mention those fierce winds led to quite a bit of debris in the roadway as well, making this morning's commute difficult for some, especially for those like us who leave bright and early before any of that cleanup happens. Now, we want to show you this. This video was shot overnight. Trees fell down on 2 houses right near each other on 27th and 28th Streets near Mishawaka Avenue. Same trees crashed into power lines as well. Street signs were down in the roadways. Quite a bit of damage throughout Michiana, including near Notre Dame. Look at this. Tree fell on Notre Dame Avenue, blocking the roadway. You can see it there. It's actually still blocked off by tape this morning, so you will need to take a different route on campus if you're heading that way early today. Nearby in Angela, a street light fell in the road, but quite a bit of damage all happened during a big event on campus. You can see it on your screen right there. Tornado sirens kept more than 150 people inside during what was supposed to be an exciting midnight unveiling of the brand new sideline gear by Under Armour. You can see a couple of those products on your screen right now. Now, they did still hold the event. Plenty of anxious customers picked up brand new team favorites from the bookstore. You saw them there. Big smiles on their faces getting that new gear. We have a link to the new products right now on the big red bar. But it's going to be a cleanup story for all throughout Michiana today, including those folks right there on the campus of Notre Dame.
And those tornado sirens were sounding, and that's what, maybe those were a little nervous smiles too.
Yeah,
but at
probably.
least people were alerted. They stayed inside. They were safe.
Absolutely. On my Facebook page this morning, someone wrote they were actually near a Meijer store when some of those tornado sirens were going. They were instructed to go to the bathrooms within the store. I know a lot of people heading to their basements overnight, bathrooms. Some of those bigger structures might have been the safest place to be. So glad to know that those officials were keeping everyone safe. I know our weather team was working hard to keep everyone updated on social media and on the air.
And today we have the cleanup that starts. All right, thanks a lot, Kate. And we continue to bring you storm coverage throughout the day, including more pictures from all around Michiana. Don't miss our continuing coverage from across the Midwest coming up on the Today Show starting at 7 a.m. An independent lab company will perform tests to find out exactly what a South Bend man found floating in a can of Pepsi. Joseph Heide cracked open that can of pop on Sunday morning and says he swallowed a chunk of something when he took a drink. So he cut the can open and found something floating inside. He said it appeared to be a piece of skin covered in several hairs. So last night, a representative from Stericycle picked up the specimen to be tested.
I want to know what's in it because I want to know what I ingested, if it's human or if it's an animal. You know, if somebody cut themselves in the bottling process.
I think that people should not be afraid to speak up when something like this happens, because it does happen. They'll find out that they're not alone. And I think responsible manufacturers need to know that so that they can take proper steps to correct things.
Now, it could take several weeks for the test results to come back, and once they do, Heide will decide whether or not to take legal action. Just a week after several complaints against him were dismissed, a South Bend councilman is in hot water again over a social media post. Rhonda Richards filed a formal complaint against Henry Davis Jr. because of a tweet he sent last week. Davis retweeted a post that said, quote, "Maybe if they could have discovered unborn babies with shortage of brain cells, you Republicans could have been aborted." Richards says Davis has again used social media to express some very degrading and offensive issues. The councilman wasn't punished over a similar situation when he posted a graphic photo on Facebook in January. Last Monday, Council President Oliver Davis dismissed several complaints against him. Violence is ramping up in the West Bank after 3 kidnapped Israeli teens were found dead. Israel already appears to be retaliating. The West Bank homes of 2 men suspected in the kidnapping were destroyed, and Israeli security forces are stepping up their airstrikes on Gaza. Ed Payne has more.
Mourners gathered in front of the Israeli consulate in New York Monday, paying tribute to the 3 teens found dead in the West Bank 2 weeks after they were kidnapped. President Obama, Pope Francis, and UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon all condemned the killings. The teens disappeared from a Jewish settlement in the West Bank around mid-June. The aunt of one of the teens described her nephew as young and innocent and calls news of the teens' deaths too sad to imagine.
They just found them. I guess they killed them, they murdered them in the beginning. The same feeling that when they were kidnapped, I didn't feel good. And now, unfortunately, I had the same bad feeling.
Israeli authorities immediately pointed the finger at Hamas, the Palestinian organization labeled as a terrorist group by both Israel and the United States.
Hamas says every Israeli man, woman, and child, every civilian, is a legitimate target for these sort of terrorist attacks.
And now Israel is striking back. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu vowing Hamas will pay. Israeli airstrikes hit targets throughout Gaza shortly after the teens' bodies were found.
My prime minister was very clear. Hamas is responsible, and Hamas will pay a very heavy price. Your government would do the same thing. Any government would do the same thing.
Israel called for the Palestinian Authority to end its pact with Hamas. The FBI is also investigating, as one of the teens had dual Israeli-U.S. citizenship. I'm Ed Payne reporting.
Now, Hamas denied abducting the teens after they first disappeared. The group warned that if Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, quote, brings a war on Gaza, the gates of hell will open on him. Firefighters worked through the night to put out a fire on several railroad cars in New Albany, Indiana. Take a look. The burning rail cars were stopped in the middle of the K&I Bridge yesterday, throwing off bright orange flames and black smoke. Firefighters managed to move the burning railroad cars off the bridge and continue their efforts to douse the flames. Norfolk Southern, who owns the train, said the fire does not involve any hazardous materials. The train was traveling from Kentucky to Indiana. No injuries have been reported. New this morning, today marks the official opening of the Luther J. Taylor Senior Fire Training Center in South Bend. You're looking at video from the dedication ceremony back in February. This is where recruits and veteran firefighters alike will train for emergencies. The center, located on East Sample, includes a classroom building, residential burn building, an extrication training area, a running track, and more. It cost $5.5 million. The city hopes to do state training there as a source of revenue. Today's opening ceremony, which is open to the public, starts at 10. Tours will be given at 8:30 a.m. to 4 p.m. The facility is located at 710 East Sample. It's named after South Bend's former fire chief, Luther Taylor Sr., who currently serves as a manager of emergency preparedness at St. Joseph Regional Medical Center and is a member of the City of South Bend's Board of Public Safety. Well, on to weather now. We are all dealing with what happened overnight, and that means a lot of cleanup was going to be taking place this morning. Here's David Harker now with a check of what is today, and that is a clear day ahead.
Yeah, that's right, Tricia. It's a green day as well. We'll be able to get out and check out some of that debris we've been talking about all morning long. And just a couple words of wisdom when you head out on the roadways this morning. A couple things you're going to encounter, all those power outages, especially the traffic lights. If they're out, consider those four-way stops instead of zooming straight through them, because you never know what traffic's going to do going on the cross street there. And heavy rainfall is leading to some flooding on some of the intersections and roadways in the low-lying areas next to rivers and streams and creeks. Turn around, don't drown, don't put yourself into a situation where it could impact your life or the lives of others. Let's talk about the rest of the conditions. 16 Doppler max showing that area of showers and thunderstorms roaring through Michiana overnight, and our Storm Team 16 coverage was here live on the air, and we were here for you, tracking and preparing you for the thunderstorms that were severe and roared through Michiana. Mike and Cindy were here, and we thank them so much for helping us out late into the overnight hours. Let's talk about the storm reports just over the past 24 hours. A lot of these icons, you take a look at the top of the screen and you can relate. The hail icons in southwest lower Michigan, closer to Buchanan, areas near Niles as well. And then the other icons, it's a wind icon, straight line winds, which we saw those wind gusts as high as 85 to 90 miles per hour in LaPorte County. And that stretched all across Michiana. Tornado-wise, we didn't hear any reports of any that touched down, although we'll be watching to see if any damage surveys eventually reveal any of that as the day goes on today. Let's talk about that road closure that Trish had mentioned not too long ago in Elkhart County. That's along State Road 19 between 119 and County Road 46. That area, because of downed trees, is giving travel issues this morning and all across Michiana. Here's a look in time. 16 future track, one cold front roars through. A second one is on our back doorstep, and that's going to reinforce some cooler air and eventually give us less humidity. Once we get throughout the daytime Wednesday, I think we're going to start out with possibility of a rain shower. We look to the rest of the day, and I think we'll actually be clearing out as high pressure off to our west builds in. Looks like a clear Thursday as well, and even a clear 4th of July this Friday. Here's a look at your Storm Team 16 forecast. Today, we're going to call it a green day with 83 degrees. Not as humid later this afternoon. That should be a sigh of relief. Anybody who's been dealing with the sticky conditions outdoors. We're back to the lower 70s as we look Wednesday into Thursday, eventually warming up to 75 degrees. The daytime on Friday. Oh, what a nice 4th of July that will be. At least we don't have to worry about the rain showers falling. That'll be good news to anybody that's heading out. The 16-day outlook, though, does show cooler weather that's in the forecast for the days ahead.
Now, David, I've heard that a good portion of Bremen is without power. Today is the Bremen Firemen's Festival. That kicks off. Always a fun time in the town. It runs through Saturday, but they have a lot planned for later on this afternoon and into the evening. Hopefully, they're going to get the power restored. Bethel College without power today, so they are closed today. Just saw a post from South Bend Farmers Market. They are closed because they don't have power.
That's right, and we're going to keep you up to speed on any of the power outages that come in later this morning to us here at WNDU.
Now, speaking of storm damage, let's take a live look. This is what you're seeing if you get on campus at the University of Notre Dame.
Yeah, this area of Notre Dame Avenue. Crews are out there right now. They're starting to clean up, but boy, oh boy, it tells the story and really paints the picture this morning.
Well, what we're hearing is this isn't just along South Bend Avenue here. This is throughout, different parts of campus. They had trees down, also the golf courses, not just at Notre Dame, but throughout our area. We're talking these beautiful, large, established trees that are in beautiful open areas.
Yeah.
The ground was already saturated. You add some wind, these things are going to topple right over.
Yeah, it's not just the little branches that fall. We're talking 1 foot to 2 foot diameter trees that have just been pushed over. Traffic lights, everything that's standing could have been pushed over with those winds.
We're also hearing about a tree on a house by the golf course on Angela Boulevard. Large limbs blocking the roads in the Harder Heights neighborhood. That's just south of Notre Dame. We've got you covered this morning, and we'll continue with our Storm Team 16 coverage throughout the day. Well, new this morning, a video that you've got to see from Chicago. Lightning struck the Willis Tower several times. Yeah, not just once. Look how many times. The Willis Tower just getting drilled by that lightning. What a show last night. Incredible. Well, we have much more ahead this morning. We'll be right back. Stay tuned. Severe weather hit Michiana really hard overnight, and now we're waking up to severe damage. And David Harker joins us now. At least the weather is good for cleanup.
That's right. We'll see more sun in the forecast, so people, you're going to have to just consider that when you're out and about today. Watch for the big puddles, watch out for the flooding, watch out for that debris. You're going to notice some of those tree limbs still hanging from the trees as well. 16 Doppler max, not showing any precipitation that we have to worry about. No more severe weather today. That is a sigh of relief. Most of it's actually all the way out now out to eastern Ohio, and it has lost steam. So we're just looking for more clear skies later on today.
All right, so the answer to the question of the day, when most people buy this, they throw about 20% of it away. We're talking toothpaste.
Yes.
Not if my husband has anything
Not
to do
at
with
all.
it. he can get every last drop out of it.
Yep. Does he use the vise on his workbench
He
too?
would love to. He would love to. Hey, keep those pictures coming in, especially now that we know with the daylight there is a lot of damage. We're going to keep you updated with more Storm Team 16 coverage in 25 minutes.